Do y'all remember when that lady fell in love with the Eiffel Tower? Well, Volatile Memory is about a scavenger that falls in love with a sentient, animal-shaped mask. What is this book really about? Wyla and other scavengers receive a message from this animal-shaped mask that is highly desired, challenging them, if you want me, come get me. Why are these masks highly desired? A good mask overcame the limitations of human physiology. New rabbit masks gave the wearer prey animal instincts that meant you were always aware, always vaguely tracking threats in the back of your mind. What does that mean? These masks can help upgrade your physical abilities, they can give you awareness of your surroundings, become a better hunter, or even be sold for a higher price. But these masks are not supposed to gain sentience, and that's exactly what happens when Wyla, the scavenger and main character of the story, acquires this hawk mask. As Wyla escapes with her new trophy, she starts to get to know her new trophy, if you get what I mean. Volatile Memory has transgender and sapphic representation. It is a sci-fi novella that explores the themes of what it means to live under a capitalistic society that controls the bodily autonomy of its citizens, the way trans people aren't treated as human, and how greedy men and corporations treat women as incubators to create future workers. In this society, transgender people are forced into conforming into the status quo or risk losing their monetary value and being able to make money. For example, corporate federation punished you for the divide in your body and mind. They called you man when you were a woman and you had made your body your own, had altered it to recognize yourself, had evolved to a place of comfort, and this made you unemployable in their eyes. Conformity over comfort. Homogeny over evolution. Anyone altered in such a way proved they were unwilling to comply, and anyone like that was difficult to control. In a way, this government praises citizens for masking who they really are and punishes those who can't seem to conform with what society demands. The citizens are allowed to wear masks to enhance their bodies because the changes are based off the terms of the government and not the self. In their minds, if they can control how people modify their bodies, they can control the amount of worker bees they produce by keeping people the genders that they were born as. The end game being control by any means and always having a workforce to exploit. In their minds, they need people to have babies. They need people to procreate in order to create a workforce. And if people are who they truly are, then how are you going to create a workforce? If same-sex people are falling in love, then in their twisted way of thinking, how are future workforces going to be created? They need to make quotas. They need to make money off of the exploitation of these people's backs. They need to make money off of the exploitation of the people that are going to be born in the future. And in order to accomplish this, the government goes as far as tracking its citizens in order to keep them in line. Corporate Federation wanted total and complete tracking, which meant you and every sad sod born within Corporate Federation territory had your genetic code extracted and recorded at birth. This was GERS, the Genetic Identity Registration System. Everything was recorded from genetic history to potential health risks. Every augment you've ever had, what your name used to be, what your body used to be, all original records were preserved, and most identity changes outside of marriage were treated like cosmetic frivolity and overlooked by serious officials. And although technically most of it could only be accessed by Corporate Federation officials, some of the GERS was public too, and for a long time those records had been a haunting and a nightmare and a cruelty for someone like you. And it was power over you, power you could not afford to give to anyone else, so GERS had been the first system you learned how to hack. The book points out the real-world dangers of corporations and the government having your genetic history and being able to access it at any time. But the real-world dangers of corporations and the government having control over your bodily autonomy, whether it's insurance companies trying to figure out if you're insurable through your genetic history and your family background of diseases, or you're a transgender person just trying to get gender-affirming care and the government is punishing you for getting gender affirming care. Both our world and the world in Volatile Memory give transgender people two options: either mask and conform, or have your own bodily autonomy but be punished for doing so. What happens in this world when you do everything in your power to conform? Well, as long as you are an obedient wife and you bear your husband children, then you are completely fine. But for those that have complications or can't bear children, then they are looked down upon, because at the end of the day, you're not creating more worker bees. You are not producing more people to be exploited off of. Because if you can't bear children and create the people that are needed to become workers, then how are these corporations going to make record-breaking profits? The author asks you, is our world so different from his world? In the world we live in right now, where abortion is illegal depending on the state that you are in, where LGBT rights are being stripped away, and transgender people are being treated as less than for just trying to use the restroom they need to use, like everybody else. Are we any better for how we treat the poor people in our society, the transgender people in our society, the women in our society? Is this quirky sci-fi book already a viable nightmare that we are living in, or is it just fantasy? Is this just real life, or is it fantasy? Could it be that we already live in this nightmare where capitalists want control over our bodily autonomy while they crash grinder at the RNC? For a 161-page novella, Volatile Memory asks us to look at our society and see where we can do better, as individuals and as a whole. I'm speaking to you, the person watching this, if you identify as a whole. It is a sci-fi novel about breaking away from norms, regaining your power, and gaining back your bodily autonomy from the government. It's about being okay with defying a government and a system that subjugates the people in it, that exploits the people within it. Or, in layman's terms, it's about saying fuck you to a society that bends over backwards for money-hungry corporations. Have a good day, everybody.